All right, welcome to the inaugural Talks and Tonics, straight talk with Jason, just a modern guy, just navigating life in Canada. I've been a guest on several podcasts in the past, but have never actually launched one of my own. I'm grateful for all of you. Perhaps as I just start out here, it's one person listening, I hope. But here's why I'm excited to be launching this podcast today. It's March 8th, 2024. I've been quoting daily on my Instagram, Live Life Playing, from a book by Cindy Spiegel. It's called A Year of Positive Thinking, where each day I start off my day with a positive quote. And this was, funny enough, today's quote. You deserve to be heard. Your voice is your power. Speak your truth clearly and with great compassion. You deserve to be heard, so take a stand for yourself. Boldly stay the course and confidently stand up tall. When you are ready to speak, the world will listen. Trust that your words will resonate with those who need to hear it most. So, this being my first official ever recorded podcast, I have a little bit of help, actually a lot of help, from my buddy SHAWN here, one of the partners for KAKS Bar and Podcast, right? So, welcome,
one
SHAWN.
of the owners.
One of the owners. Here we go. Canada's first bar and podcast venue.
Yep. Maybe even North America. The more I do my research, I don't think I know Canada for sure. We're the first podcast bar, like bar restaurant with a podcast studio on site. But I'm pretty sure North America were the first.
North America.
Yeah. I mean, like I've been doing my research and just Googling it and only we come up. So
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
like there's people that podcast out of a bar, but as far as like a podcast bar concept, we're the first ones. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's dive into that really quickly. So first one in North America. What made you come up with this as a business?
So I guess it started with KAKS was 4 people. It's an acronym. So we like I'm the S, SHAWN, and then my business partner KAS is the K, and then we had 2 more business partners. But as we progressed through the business, just me and KAS became the 2 members, and from there it was KAKS Bar, and then I was the one who kind of was like, I'm super into podcasts. I've always been into podcasts. So I always fancied putting a podcast studio in a bar, but I also thought it was done already.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't 100% sure that we're going to be the first ones to do it, but we just wanted to do it anyway as well. You know, so I went to KAS and my partners at the time said, let's throw the podcast in there. So whatever it is, will just be bar and podcast. And then originally the idea was just to shoot podcasts out of here for ourselves.
Yeah.
But then we developed the business model of renting out the studio as well, so other people can shoot their podcasts. Like for instance, like you're renting it out and shooting your podcast, which is that. But my partner and I, we've been trying to open a bar, like the original partners. We've been trying to open up our own bar. Like we've been talking about it before COVID.
Okay.
And we were going to do it before COVID.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and then we had to take a break on the idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's your guys' slogan I see on the back here is "Come for the beer, stay for the conversation."
Yeah.
Right. So I
made a joke the other day with some guests because we got pretty loose on here, and I'm like, "Come for the beer, barely remember the conversation."
That's why we record these things.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I've been a guest for many different podcasts, and I've always wanted to start one, but I never knew how to start one. So that's why, we're calling this one Podcast 101.
Mm-hmm.
So to help me launch my podcast, but also for those that are curious out there, we're in Calgary, Alberta, right?
Mm-hmm. And Calgary, Alberta. Yeah.
Calgary, Alberta. And tons of people want to know, why instead of I'm going to answer this question right now. I was watching you guys set all this gear up here for me, and I didn't know where to start. Right. So if you were to start a podcast, from home or wherever anybody records podcasts, there's a lot of gear involved. Right.
Kind of.
You have to be pretty technical.
Kind of. There's no right or wrong way. And like a podcast is just filming a conversation.
Okay.
Whether it's for audio or video. That's the original premise of it. When Joe Rogan first did it, he just had his friends in his apartment off of a webcam, facing one way, and 3 of them sat like side by side looking into the webcam.
Okay.
And did they have mics? I don't think they had mics. I think they just talked right into the webcam and the computer mic, and it was just that him and some comedians like Ari Shaffir and Brian Redband. And even back then, I really enjoyed listening to them talk. And in hindsight now, the audio quality wasn't like super good.
Yeah.
But I didn't even notice that back then. I was just like super excited that, wow, like I get to hear a real conversation that's not an interview. Because people confuse podcasts with interviews. They can be. I mean, like the whole definition of podcast now is completely changed, but they're supposed to be conversations.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and then I just remember Rogan having like cool conversations with celebrities back then, like Anthony Bourdain, Jim Jeffries, like, and I was sitting there thinking like, is this real? Like, cause like when you watch Entertainment Tonight and all those shows, like there's so much production value, and like you can tell they're talking pretty controlled because they have their agents there and everything. But then to hear these guys talk loosely, I was really blown away that, hey, like I get to be a fly on the wall and hear like these celebrities have like cool conversations and the beauty was I started like taking them off pedestals, because I started realizing, man, like they're just regular guys that like talk about the same shit we do, even though they're like super rich and stuff. Yeah. Sorry, I lost track of your question here, but you're saying like
the technical stuff, like you mentioned that. Well, this is why I'm here. I'm going to say it. You guys, you're one of the sponsors that we're going to be working together with my podcast, because I'll be recording my podcast out of here.
Yeah,
right? So,
and we're super grateful for that business.
Absolutely,
but the equipment, there's endless ways to do it. There's guys that don't even use a computer, like they just use cameras and mics, and then they will put that into an editing software, and they'll sync up the sounds. There's guys that don't use even a mic; they just literally take their camera, put it in front of them real close, and they literally just do it out of their closet, because the closet has an enclosed space, so there's no reverberation of the sound. I took a more traditional route because I use a podcast software. Shout out Riverside, I think is a great product. My business partner will use different softwares himself to film his podcast, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It all depends on how you want to film it, how you want to edit it. So the way we ended up doing it, we did it with that software. We use 4 mics. We have a mixer. And as far as cameras go, as you can see, one's a webcam and one's an iPhone. I would prefer my earlier episodes. We used 2 iPhones, so the quality of the video was the same. But like one of my old iPhones basically crapped out on me. And just for economic reasons, we had so many webcams, like, so I'm just like, hey, well, we use one as a webcam and then one as an iPhone for now. And this is the one thing too about podcast production. Like I've been having a debate with a couple people over this, because there's this whole movement now saying, oh, in order to get views on your podcast, you need to have high production, and they have these analytics to show it. But I'm like, I don't know, I'm seeing these analytics, but at the same time, I'm noticing the ones I listen to, they don't always have fancy schmancy production. Like, they're just simple. Like it's, you compare Jocko Willink's podcast, Navy SEAL podcast to well, even Joe Rogan's, right? And then you compare them to Patrick Bet-David's, like, and then to Chris Williamson's, like Chris Williamson's is literally like styled like a movie. And then Patrick Bet-David's is styled like just great angles with like a professional setting. But then Rogan's is literally, from what I understand, Rogan used to use an iPhone camera too. Like he keeps it very simple, and because it's just more about the conversation. That's really what it should be, right? So I mean, you don't want to look like complete dog shit. Can I swear in your podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
It's straight talk, man.
Yeah. You don't want to look like complete
shit. It's all good.
You don't want it to look like complete dog shit. But you don't need it to be fancy schmancy. Just capturing conversation. Like I mean, TikTok video is fine. You can use all your filters and make it fancy. But as far as a podcast goes, like me personally, I just care about hearing what was said. And just getting a glance at the facial reactions, because like you want it casual. You like a podcast is supposed to be casual. Like you shouldn't need to wear a suit and get all dressed up for a podcast. Well, you can, like Lex Friedman does that, but I guess so as far as you go, like not just you, people can film out of their homes however which way they want. But what we offer is we already have a studio on site. You don't have to bring anything. You literally can just focus on the conversation, and we have a bar restaurant literally attached to the studio.
Yeah.
So it's like you can get drinks and stuff. And it's kind of like, why do you go out for dinner? You can cook at home.
Exactly.
Well, same thing. Why do you come to the podcast bar? You can just, we have everything set up for you. It's convenient. And the price point is really, really efficient.
Yeah.
It's just $60 for an hour, just $1 a minute.
$1 a minute,
yeah. Like some studios like $150 an hour or like, but they have super cameras and all this stuff. Like we keep it casual. As you can notice, the studio is very casual, couches, little IKEA chair, like,
hey, I have 2 of these at home.
Yeah. I always feel like it should be the focus of the conversation. And then however you film it, you will need editing software though. That's the big one.
Yeah.
I use Adobe Premiere Pro, and there's tons of editing software out there. And then you can make your clips to make the highlights of your content and throw it on your social media. So yeah, this is not as techie as it looks. It really isn't. It looks techie, but do it once or twice and you have it figured out.
And you got to figure out. That makes sense. Like, and that's usually with anything that you do. Just take the first steps, and it becomes routine. Yeah, like you're 117 episodes in.
Yeah.
Were you doing podcasts under a different name before that?
No, it was always KAKS Bar and Podcast. The first few were just literally out of my business partner's garage. And then, and then transitioned to the studio when we opened the bar for business. What was I going to say? I was going to say something about the, I was going to explain. Okay. Like if you want to measure out cost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess these are probably like 80 a pop for a directional mic. So we have 4 of those. Like what's the math there? 320 now.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you want the mixer. That's usually, $300. So that's $600. And then you need a computer.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but almost everyone has a computer, but you want a decent one. Like you probably want one. I don't know. I use a MacBook Pro, but like you probably couldn't get by doing all this with a slow PC. So all in, we're talking about like $1,600 if you want to start a proper podcast. So we only charge $60 an hour.
Okay.
So if you make your podcast an hour, what's 1,600 divided by 60? Like, what is that? With us, you can film 26 podcasts before you should go buy your own equipment.
Wow.
Like that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing them once a week or whatever, then I don't know, just do it here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Until you save up the money to, or whatever, that's the way I see it too. It's way cheaper to film with us too. And we take care of everything. So
excellent. So with $1 a minute, so $60 a minute, $60 for 60 minutes of work. What do we get with that then? What am I going to get out of this afterwards?
What'd you see? Like it's like fully filmed for you. The podcast software I use has audio and noise reduction, echo cancellation. So like you literally don't have to. You won't hear like the outside. You have a soundproof room as well, like 90% soundproof. It won't stop a police siren, unfortunately, but we film it and we create the video for you and an audio, and we just put it through the Adobe Premiere Pro, and then I drop it off to you on a Google Drive file.
Okay.
So you literally leave with the raw video file and the audio file.
Okay.
We don't edit your podcast for you. That's up to you to do creativity. But we can make clips for you, if you want to, like, it's just a little time on our part, but we can always just select 5 random sections and like, I don't know, charge you $10 a clip. So for another $50, I can give you,
all those different things.
Yeah. All those little clips, and then you throw it on your social media. It's good for businesses to roll in if they want to create quick content to advertise, but don't have to, they don't want to spend setup time. They just want to roll in, get it filmed, move out. Like with their
what kind of businesses have you had here?
Yeah, we've had on Alana Baxter. She has a small business called Fitspa out of Cochrane that is essentially like a mini Amazon.
Okay, but
just for local businesses in Cochrane. So she came on to promote her business. So we created a podcast for her. She was on the KAKS Bar and Podcast show, but it was about her, so that people can refer to that episode when they want to know more about the CEO of that company.
Yeah.
We had on Canadian Fiber Optics. They came in and did a podcast. They're a telecommunications company. Their podcast was a bit funnier because it was a team building night. Yeah. So it's just like you get to see the employees that like create the fiber.
Chatting away and all.
Yeah, fun. Sell the fiber optics, handle the accounts, and like you guys see them be casual and just talk about everyday stuff that you realize, oh, everyone's normal. That's just 2 examples. We have comedians on that have been promoting their comedy shows. So I guess that's a business. You can look at it like that. I podcasted with other podcasts, like the YYC Real Estate Show, where their podcast is centered around real estate. So almost all their guests are in that realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I rattled off a couple businesses there, and we're going to continue to grow. I mean, we're still not even a year old. So
Okay. Yeah. You guys opened when?
June, or was it May of last 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're nearing our 1 year,
Nice.
1 year birthday.
Nice. So with, you know, you mentioned Joe Rogan as one of the podcasts that you watch. Any other podcasters that you follow?
Oh yeah, a bunch.
Yeah.
Like I listen to podcasts more than I listen to music now. Like,
Okay.
there's too many to name. But I mean, again, like I'll rattle off the ones I said before. Again, like it's like Joe Rogan, Jocko Willink, Making Sense with Sam Harris. I listen to funny ones like Bad Friends with Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino.
Okay.
Patrick Bet-David's a big podcast I've been listening to a lot lately, the PBD show.
Yeah.
Michael Bisping's Believe You Me, it's an MMA podcast. Listen to some what do you call it? Cameron Haynes. Like, even though I don't do any hunting, like I love hearing him talk about hunting and the kind of guests he has on there. I listen to a lot of like history podcasts too, like but I don't even know if you categorize those as podcasts, but they're in the podcast section, like Dan Carlin's stuff. Yeah, I'm always listening because I it's like reading, but you're not, you just.
And that's what I was just gonna say. So instead of listening to music, which you probably still do,
yeah, just not nearly as much. Yeah,
the information that you're learning from, like, you mentioned, like Entertainment Tonight with with the interviews, it's all it's staged. Right?
Yeah,
so
basically, yeah, it's not authentic. It doesn't seem authentic anyway.
Exactly. And podcasts are more conversations, and you know what, we can. I don't know. Is there rules when you pop podcasts on the different mediums that are available out there?
That's a interesting question, because right now, why I love podcasts when they first came out was because these were real conversations and they were unfiltered. Like the early podcasts that were on YouTube, they were wild, man. Like half of that stuff you say now, you probably get canceled, and but what was so endearing to me was that all these celebrities where I'm like, man, these are just like real people, you know what I mean?
Expressing their real thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I strongly believe that podcasts should not have any filters. I mean, there's limits. You don't want to promote hate speech.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But most of the time, these are just real conversations. And like, I like hearing athletes talk too, like on their podcast. Like half the time there's a jokey kind of like style to everything, but like I sometimes I like a serious one, especially when you get into a good like debate. And because it's kind of like, when you ever had a heated debate, like at a bar with your friend? Yeah. Like when you capture some of those, because you're like, you're getting the real feeling, right? And but half those conversations are now considered like not polite, and like, and people should be I don't know, like taken off the internet because of that. But I'm like, you have those conversations in private. We know this.
True.
I feel like it should keep it authentic. But right now it's harder to keep it entirely authentic. I gotta admit.
Yeah, but I think with the last Joe Rogan that I listened to was when Dr. Phil was on it.
Yeah.
And they're talking about.
I heard most of that one too.
Yeah, and I've seen little snippets about it, and then I started searching for it because they were talking about something that was very important to me. Like it's like kids and being able to make their decisions on their sexual orientation. Right.
Mm-hmm. See, we're in a spicy topic
parents,
now.
Right. So, that was, that's a spicy topic, and that got, it's okay to be published. Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, Joe's under a different level. Like, it's like, I mean, he got off YouTube because they were censoring him on the COVID stuff. And then he moved over to Spotify.
Yeah.
And the deal was he gets full creative control, and Spotify is not an American company from what I understand.
Okay.
So Joe did that, and he's different. And then even his clips are still on YouTube, but YouTube also is a business, and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna make money off this guy, even though we technically kind of shadow banned him or pressured him to leave the platform. Or actually, I'm talking my ass. They never pressured Joe to leave the platform. They were just, Joe explained it. They were just taking taking videos down of his, and he didn't appreciate that. He pulled the plug. They actually didn't. They were kind of like, you know, you can keep staying on the platform, but we're going to decide which ones you can keep on, which ones you can't.
Yes.
So then he made the switch, but actually my memory's coming back to me now. Spotify actually did have a list of banned episodes actually when he first came over.
Okay.
So there was, it was almost like 50 Rogan podcasts actually had to get pulled. Now, fortunately for me, I heard all 50 of them before they got pulled. So it's like, but so actually, yeah, in hindsight, Spotify did have some demands, but Joe was still able to he was able to talk about the COVID stuff.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
So that like on Spotify.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So there's a little bit of a, mix matching going on there, but Spotify seems to be more free speechish, which is why
so
Joe
less censorship is what
less censorship. Yeah, less censorship.
Okay.
But
so
the ones
for a small guy like me, you know, it's probably not a concern at this moment.
You still could be. I mean, like the AI picks up, like, you know, I'm pretty sure we said some like outlandish, gnarly stuff right now. Yeah. There's a possibility the video can get flagged. You'll get an email and then it get pulled. Like even at that, like at the low level, like, you know, of the view, like, because like the views, how it works on the internet is just whether or not you're on the algorithm.
Okay.
So the algorithm is the fancy way of saying like the YouTube pushes it for you. So yeah, so you can get more views if you're on the algorithm.
Okay.
You know, so if you're not on the algorithm, your views are pretty much limited to just kind of like your Facebook page, to who you know, and they'll watch it and like it. So yeah, but getting on the algorithm is hard because you really have to do something that stands out, that makes people want to like watch all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the YouTube is just full of a lot of like horse shit material too, because people are just doing like, you know, they're just doing things to get attention, right?
Exactly.
But that is the name of the game, which is kind of the irony, because like you know, you can make a lot of money off YouTube if you just be an outlandish weirdo, you know.
Well, everybody wants to be heard. Like I said with this quote earlier, like everybody wants to be heard, and now we're all focused on, okay, you know, let me get my voice out there. And for some people, it's okay, let me do the stupidest thing ever, right? Like remember when, oh gosh, Johnny Knoxville,
yeah, Jackass,
with Jackass, like you know, they're all their things, and you know, they're doing the most outlandish things, and then people started copying them, right? And people, you know, people started getting hurt, so. They got canceled for doing their Jackass stuff.
Did they actually get canceled?
I think there was like more rules and more censorship afterwards, right?
Okay.
It's like, you know, it's like, but, and then I'm just noticing on Facebook now when people put up their podcasts or their expressions or their opinions, they're always, you know, there's always some kind of, what do you call it? A disclaimer. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, can you explain a little bit more about that? Like what's
I don't really know too much about that, because the podcast I watch, there's no disclaimers, and they just dive right into like juicy topics, man. But it's just that they're so powerful. Like PBD, for instance, Patrick Bet-David, like I trust him now as my news source. I go to that for world news. Like I don't go to mainstream news, because he just puts it out there, and he's had episodes pulled, but he just keeps making them. Yeah. And for some reason, YouTube allows him to do it because he gets like loads of views. So when he's getting loads of views, YouTube makes money, right?
Exactly.
So yeah. So I don't know. I think the I might have lost track of what you're asking me, but I think the goal is just go for it.
Just go for it.
Just make content.
Yeah.
Like talk to people about real things. I mean, tiptoe maybe around using like certain words, you know, but the subject matter, you know, like people listening will understand, because you understand when they're saying it too, you know. So it's like, but then until you get some more power, I guess, you know. So
same rules apply with conversations that we've always been trained in. You know, it's, you know, tread lightly around religion, tread lightly around politics.
Yeah, there's none of that these days.
Not at all.
So
not at all, right? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think this is all like great advice for me just starting out this podcast. Like, I have lots to say. I have, you know, like I'm almost 50 years old here. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You know what? I have some opinions, and I have, and I'd love to share them. Right?
Yeah.
And people ask me questions like, you know, as a registered nurse, you know, I'm actually, you know, can call myself a health expert.
Yeah.
Can't call myself a doctor, right? Because I don't have the MD or a PhD behind me.
Yeah.
But, you know, certainly if I study long enough, I can get those PhDs and call myself a doctor too.
Yeah, I find right now with podcasting too, it's like because there's so many of them, right? Because podcasts, but that's a good thing. I think podcasts should end up being like Instagram pages. Like everyone should have one because everyone has ability to kind of get a little bit more intel on someone's personality.
Yeah,
you know, so it's like and so it doesn't hurt. Everyone should have podcasts so that you know you can just go on someone's podcast and kind of like understand where they're coming from, do a little bit more research about the person, then you kind of, it's almost like you have a feel for someone before you have to meet them in person. I don't know. Yep. But as far as the like having a lot of things to say, it's like you definitely, I encourage you to do a podcast because you've gone through a lot and you're also very well spoken. Like you're very good articulation, and you know, like you have a wealth of experience, and your life's pretty dynamic, like for the most part, like based on the way I know you. Like, but if you're 50 and you're just a routine guy that like is your life's predictable and you really don't have much to say that's kind of like interesting, then I wouldn't necessarily recommend that person do a podcast. But who am I? Anyone can do a podcast, but I definitely think you should. Yeah, because like,
thank you,
because you've been through a lot and you're still going through a lot, and like, and you have a story to tell, and there's people that probably want to hear it. You know? And so
well, you know, you had me on talking about men's mental health the other day, and we talk about it being
that sun is just glaring right at me right now. But
talk therapy, that's what, you know, that's what a lot of therapy these days, when you're going through life.
Yeah.
You know, if I can express myself and go through it, through all those different fun things, and bad things and sad things.
Yeah.
I find it helpful to share that story. No,
and I like we're gonna do another men's mental health one, like whether it's on your show or mine, because like what you're going through too. This sounds kind of woo woo, but maybe you went through that so that you can tell people about it. You know, because you know, like I don't know, like you know, like everything's relative, right?
Exactly.
You know, and plus it's hard out there right now, man. Like it really is. Like I'm not just saying like, hey, you have food, shelter, clothing. It's not that hard out there. It's like, no, it is hard out there, man. Like your mind is being tugged in like 30 different directions all the time. At least back in the day, like if you knew your only objective is to get some food, shelter, then that's it. You know, like you know, you're not like,
your role. You know,
and you can concentrate on it and perfect it.
Yeah.
But now it's like everything that we used to do is like no longer even needed or something, and just also just the system itself in society, it seems a bit like it seems fucked up right now. Like, you know, nothing makes too much sense when you look more into it. Like nothing. Like, and when I say nothing, I mean as it pertains to what you have to do to make money to have a life.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't really make sense. Like certain things are, I don't want to get all like socialisty, because I truly am deep down a capitalist, like entrepreneur. But I don't know, man. Like, but I do have some general like leaning more to the left and socialisty thoughts on resources. Like, so why the fuck should people have to like be paying so much for food right now?
Exactly.
You know, like because there's food businesses. Okay, fine. But shouldn't that be something that a government creates a law around that makes it more sensible? Like these are basic shit that we need.
Yes.
You know,
our basic needs. You know, a lot of people out there cannot even afford their basic needs. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
the homeless situation's getting terrible.
Clothing, housing, all these different things.
Yeah.
You know, it's we're you know, and I'm gonna say it, like we are essentially, you know, being I guess being guided down a path where we don't own anything at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So
it seems to, you know, like we're going down the tinfoil hat route now, but seems like this is intentional for sure.
The tinfoil.
Yeah.
It's everybody talks about it, right? And we're allowed to. I'm going to talk about it. We're allowed to talk about it. Like, you know what? This is us shooting the shit and saying, hey, you know what? This is where you're sitting right now. What's in your mind? And this is where I'm sitting in my mind as well. And that's kind of, you know, what I've learned. Podcasts a bit, right? Like there's relationships, there's life, there's, you know, religion, there's politics, there's business, there's health. And in order for us to express ourselves, this podcast is kind of a medium for us to do that.
Yeah, it is. I noticed podcasting has two styles to do a conversation. There's the one that we're doing right now where we're actually analyzing and talking about like our experience, and then the other version is to talk about the experience.
Okay.
You know, like I've noticed that right now. And I've noticed I'm more into the podcast where they're talking about the experience. Yeah, not talking about the experience. If you know what I'm, this is what I say make sense, kind of like.
Well, you're sharing the first person, your first person.
Yeah, like right now we're describing a podcast centered around, you know, but it's like which is good, but I'm just saying like there's like I just did an MMA podcast yesterday, and that one we're talking about the thing, right? Yes, we're like, who's gonna win tonight in which fight? Sean O'Malley, Cheeto Vera, right? Yep. And then it's like, and then there's this different style. I was like, yeah, the other day I had a really good time talking about who I thought would win the fight. You kind of, you know what I mean? Like, but both are good. Like, it's like, but that's something I notice about conversations with everyone, like, especially like owning a bar restaurant. It's like you start to listen to people talk in the bar. There's one that's engaged just from like the ego version of talking. Like, this is what I did this weekend, blah, blah, blah. Like, I like this. And then there's the other guy, like, analyze, trying to figure out life because they're trying to figure out their emotions and stuff. Yeah. And, but it is interesting because like I noticed that like the two different style of talking will definitely play a role in the way you behave and act.
Absolutely.
And then it's like because people enjoy when people don't see the other person's ego. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a bar and someone's just bragging all the time, like, but they're not Conor McGregor, like they're not super successful yet. You're kind of like, who the fuck's this guy, right? Yeah. And then you prefer a more tame conversation like this, because you're like, oh, this guy's respectful, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think that is the more interesting conversation to have, because you kind of want to hear the first person style, right?
Well, and if we're going back to come for the beer, stay for the conversation, right? And we talk about happy hour. You guys have a bar here, right?
3 to 6, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and then all day Sunday for happy hour.
What's your Instagram?
KAKS Bar Podcast. So our doing business as is called KAKS Bar and Podcast, but all our socials is just KAKS Bar Podcast, all one word. Awesome. So KAKSBARPODCAST.
Awesome. And you guys have happy hour every day?
Yep. Monday, Friday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then all day Sundays, all day happy hour. Saturdays, we have different drink specials.
Nice.
Yeah. Like we have RTD specials on Saturdays, which is the ready to drink. So we have a Shaft on draft and Cold Garden iced tea. Those are both $5.
And, you know, I keep looking at come for the beer, stay for the conversation. It doesn't necessarily mean stay for the conversation, then, you know, have us on a podcast. It's, you know, have the conversation with you, right? And your bartenders. Like, you know, that's what happy hour used to be. You know, your bartenders used to, like, in life, your bartenders used to know your life more than, you know, other people.
That's
right?
true.
You come here with your friends, you have a couple of drinks, and you talk to the bartender, or you talk to your stylist, your hairstylist. So ladies, you know, they'll talk to their hairstylist. We never went to barbers to talk to our barbers, but we, you know, when I used to have hair and when I, you know, started shaving my beard and getting my beard done, well, I was talking to that barber, like, about my life too. Yeah. Right. So it's conversations that you pick up and along the way. So I kind of like the, you know, the concept that you guys have here.
Thanks, man.
So and that's why I was like, hey, you know what? Let's start recording these podcasts here. That's the studio. It's going to make it easy for me because I don't have to worry about the technical stuff. Yeah. I just want to talk. I just want to shoot shit with people.
Yeah. To be honest, I want to do that too. I wish I wasn't handling the technical part. Yeah. Like, but in time, as we get more successful, we'll be able to hire the actual tech guy or the production team or production person, so that my goal is to just keep on learning, growing, talking to interesting people that I want to talk to. Yeah. But do that all the time. Like, I want to like know more about something each day, like from first count. Man, I had this one guy that he ended up not coming on the podcast, but you know who you are. He literally is he's a submarine guy in the Canadian military. And man, like, he was just telling me so much stuff. I was glued to the conversation for an hour and a half. Like, I learned so much, maybe stuff I shouldn't know. And, you know, but I was sitting there, man, I was like, wow. Like, and then I even asked him, I was like, why, like, how come you didn't let me film that? You know? And then, cause it was just naturally took place. He was even a bit surprised. He told me everything he told me. He's like, oh no. He's like, yeah, this is different. Hey, it's like, when else do you get to talk to strangers?
Exactly. Yeah.
But like really get to know them and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. No, it's I think it's great. Like, and that's I have a couple more questions here for you about podcasting.
Yeah.
Like I've chosen a name for my podcast, and I've thought long and hard about it.
Yeah.
But
what was it again? Sorry, you said at the beginning.
It's called TOX and TONICS.
TOX and TONICS. Yeah.
And part of that is from my aesthetic nursing side. It's like talking about Botox and fillers and stuff. But then I started. It's conversation, so I might spell it as TALKS and TONICS.
TALKS. Yeah.
Right. TOX and TONICS. But who knows? We'll see. But how do you choose a name?
I don't know. That one just got to be creative. Like I don't even know if KAKS Podcast is the most like creative name. But there's so many like cool names out there, and I would definitely start your Instagram though, and make sure that's not taken because that sounds clever, right?
Yeah,
man. Like, but I remember Eden and Ahmad. They oh my God, sorry Ahmad if your name's not Ahmad, but like it was a podcast I did with those two gentlemen. They're also podcasters, and it was a great conversation, super fun. Like I'm pretty sure it's Ahmad. Why can't I fully remember it now? I remember the conversation and the guy. But so many names come at me now that. But anyway, sorry, bro. But theirs is called Too Opinionated. It's because it's two of them. Yeah, but it's TWO. Yeah, I was like, that's clever. Yeah, there's so many clever podcast names, and I don't know. We just went with the one for our business, KAKS Bar and Podcast, because like a lot of like the original idea was to just podcast with Calgarians, like the way I've been doing.
Yeah,
like you don't have to be no one special, but just come in and but that idea actually kind of like didn't fly as well because I was doing that at the very beginning, but there's been a couple that could end up there's a couple that couldn't end up like publishing because they were just simply like I
were they taken or they were just.
Oh no, I didn't realize once the camera's in front of them, some people clam up and they don't know how to talk normal. They end up just I was like, a moment ago we were having completely different conversations. Once I turn this camera on, now you're like all super proper and just I'm like, dude, just be the guy that we were talking a moment ago. And he's like, I am. Like, no, you're not. Like,
no, you're not. Yeah, exactly.
You completely switched on what you said you believed in. So
before we publish this, I guess talking publishing.
Yeah.
Right. So YouTube, Spotify.
There's so many oh shit. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, it's not you. Like I just
no worries.
I just don't
3
get
PM.
Well, I also
circadian rhythms are going down. You were late last night. So
I miss sleep. I do miss sleep. I don't get 8 hours ever anymore. That's one thing I do miss. Because just
you're an entrepreneur, man. That's what happens.
Yeah,
you work 24/7.
It does. That part I do miss sleeping, and I want to at least get to a point where I can hustle, but like realistically get 8 hours of sleep. Like, but right now that's not the stage of the game. Publishing, we're only on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Okay.
I gave the audience 2 choices for audio and then 1 choice for video.
Okay.
That's just the way I did it because I might throw them all on different platforms later, but to me, until we grow the audience primarily on YouTube, then I don't want to just keep doubling up on my work and and posting it on more platforms and just like creating more work, because I'm busy enough as it is right now. Absolutely, so I'm on 3. You can go on Google Podcasts, you can go on like however many you want, man.
Do each of these each of these sites that cost you to upload your podcast onto?
No, podcasts are free.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of it. But I do have a Spotify account. You need to pay for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to pay for these accounts, but Spotify is very affordable. It's like, what is it? Like $10 a month or something? Like, like there you go. Apple is free. Okay. I think. Like, I don't remember paying for an Apple podcast. Apple's harder to put on though. To get it going, your page needs to be reviewed and then okayed, and then so it's like a two-day process. But anyone can start their Spotify podcast right away.
Okay.
Yeah, and then YouTube, I have YouTube Premium. I do pay for that.
Okay.
Wait, what am I saying? You need a YouTube account. So but the premium is good because you don't have to like listen to commercials and stuff like that. You can, because otherwise there's so many ads on YouTube. Like
for sure.
Like one video comes with like 4 or 5 ads.
Okay.
And just like a little kid, when you do what to like watch commercials, it's like the same thing with a podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm learning lots here. Podcast 101.
Yeah.
With SHAWN.
Yeah.
Right. From KAKS
Bar
Bar
and
podcast.
What platforms do you plan on putting this on?
Well, I'm going by you, man. Like, basically,
The same three?
you're my podcast guru.
Okay,
right? So
yeah.
that's what we'll put it on, and because you're going to give me an audio file
Yeah.
and a video
Video,
file, and that's what I'll probably pop it on. So
Sweet.
and I've been learning. I pop things on personal videos, vacation videos, and all that stuff on YouTube before. I've never put anything on podcast. But I think that's what I'm going to start.
The one thing that I want to do, but like I can't seem to keep doing it, but I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
Because we were slow season during the bar, so like during slow season, like I had to, me and my business partner, like as owners, like we have to, run the costs, run lean, right? During
for
slow
sure.
season. So I was bartending a bunch, and I just did not have the time to make as many, but like the thing about podcasting I do know is it has to be consistent if you want people to find you and listen to you, unless you have that one viral episode that you just said something so profound or outlandish that everyone's like,
well, that's why you
million
just
people
keep
heard
creating
it.
content. You'll hit eventually.
Yeah, but at the same time, with that being said, like I do create content, but I want to enjoy the conversation, like truly, like, because otherwise I could just literally make like fucking like endless bullshit podcast that like it's just nonstop gibberish just so I'm publishing. I don't know, but I really do enjoy like thorough good conversations like this. Like
absolutely. No, that's I think it's for my first podcast. Hey, this is getting me through the motions.
Yep,
getting me through the working with the files that I'm going to view here. So I'm going to be loving how to pop that up on the different mediums.
And you're you're a smart guy. Like if you don't know how to edit something, I'm still in the same way. I haven't utilized even 1/20th, I guess, of the software's full capabilities. Oh Jesus, man! I don't know what the fuck happens. This sun's kind of like warming me up right now, and then like my own chair is just kind of like
it's a cozy chair.
It's cozy, yeah. Chair. I'm like, oh man, yeah. I'm surprised you didn't like
start that one.
Yeah, or like when we did the men's health one. Yeah, but also I didn't get much sleep. So
no, but that was the funny thing. Like just before we were recording here, you were saying you as the interviewer, you have one mode, and then as the interviewee, you have another mode.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the same guy though. Like I've been actively trying, but I got called out actually by a buddy being like, man, you have so many different sides to you. Like, and some of them kind of like undermine the other because, as an example, like someone said a negative thing about me, just saying, man, he's so stressed and high strung and like serious. And then once I have a couple of drinks, they're like, oh my God, he's the goofiest guy alive, And I was kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, why am I super serious and like sometimes and then goofy, other times? Holy fuck. Jesus Christ, I'm cozied up right now. I swear, Jason, it's not you. This is just like I'm like, man, now I know how my guest feels.
I got to figure out how to stimulate this guy a little bit more.
No. I'm into the conversation. I'm just like also like, ooh.
No, I'm actually excited to tell you about my next guest, right?
Yeah.
And she's you ever watch the movie Hitch?
I remember that. I don't remember like watching it. I remember watching the previews, with Will Smith.
With Will Smith and such. So, it's right now I'm a single guy, right?
Yeah.
And I met her at a charity event that I attended on the weekend. And she was telling me about this concept. She goes, I want to elevate the dating the dating scene for a lot of guys out there. She goes, I have a whole bunch of hot single girlfriends that want to meet guys that are looking for the same.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to bring her on the show next week.
Talk about dating
and talking about a little bit about how, what's her business? It's called Hitch YYC.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So
I think I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they put on these fun little events and, you're so I'm happy to bring her on because what I'm learning, right, as recently divorced single man, right, that dating scene it's brutal. right? It's
it's
and if you're relying on apps, it was one of the things I was like super excited about when when I was able to date again. But I learned really quickly apps are just not the way to go for guys like me.
It's podcast. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. What's your goals with your podcast? Like, is it just more to bring more awareness to subject matter that you like, or are you trying to like ultimately monetize it, or is it like what is it just a fun thing you do? Because I have a lot of friends that they have podcasts, but it's for fun. Like they're not expecting to make money. They shoot them when they want to. They just think it's fun.
As I started off today with that quote, the people that need to hear your what you're saying will hear it, and they'll need to so that's one of my motivations for doing the podcast. The other part as well,
for people who hear what you have to say, they will. Sorry, can you repeat that quote you did at the beginning?
It's here it is. Where is it again? You deserve to be heard. Your voice is your power. Speak your truth clearly and with great compassion. You deserve to be heard, so take a stand for yourself. Boldly stay the course and confidently stand up tall. When you're ready to speak, the world will listen. Trust that your words will resonate with those who need to hear it the most.
Trust that your words will. Okay, so that's a trust in like God and the universe that the right people will find your podcast.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And I've always maintained this. Like, do what you're passionate about. Share your gift, right? And I obviously, I sometimes think I have the gift of gab and like conversations and like talking. Like we'll talk topics left and right. And the right people will hear it at the right time.
Yeah.
And if I can monetize it, absolutely. I'm a serial entrepreneur, man. Like, if we can monetize it, and like even to this point, like I'm investing in your business, right? And you're investing in my business as well.
Yeah.
Right. So that's reciprocal. And that's that's a relationship in business that's always important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, it's like keeping those bridges connected. Right now, like I do gotta admit though, like right now the economy seems like it's fucked up. Like a lot of people don't have like a lot of spare money, if you will.
Yeah, for sure.
But go out. It's like so that's why it's like podcasting, you do it because you love it first. Exactly. Like if you're trying to just score a way to like make YouTube content to make money, then I'm sorry, man. Like if you really look for that heavy, quick payday, I'm like doing something online, you may as well try your hand at OnlyFans, because like that's the one neutralizer too. Like you go to some YouTube page, some girl trying on clothes and millions of subscribers, like all over the algorithm. I'm like, man, that's something we can't compete with.
No, you can't. You cannot.
It's like, it's like, because like I'll find myself every now and then glancing at one or two and being like, holy fuck, that was 30 minutes. I went by. I'm like, shit. And then
get back to work.
Yeah. It's like, it's weird how like that has become just like a mesmerizing brain waster. Like when you're laying in bed at night, it's like, let's watch this person try on more clothes. You're like, that looks really hot. Like you're not even looking at porn now. You're just looking at like girls trying on dresses, and next you're like thinking to yourself, she looked better in the green one. And then you're like literally like, oh my fucking god, half hour went by. Like like and this person like what a like smart, savvy hustler, and also just like kind of in a way a carefree life. Yeah, like you're not doing much, and you're making more money than all of us, and you get to go do shit. I do feel that
you've seen those. They're driving these fancy cars and stuff. What do? They're like, I have an OnlyFans. Yeah, like, holy shit! You never see the guy say, "I have an OnlyFans."
Yeah, right? Well, I know a couple dudes with OnlyFans. They make some money off that, and like,
well, maybe they got better visuals, but they
have big dicks. But I'm also just like, fuck, man. So you make a living jerking off into a camera, like, let's be honest, like that's. Like, I don't know, like that's the one thing I'm like, how much money would I be desperate for to like start to think that that's what I need to do?
Well, you know what, if we're going to go bring it back,
1 million.
COVID, launched everybody that is in business that wants to make money. We have to do it all on video. Right. Yeah. So, there's been some very successful people that do it.
I'm just still trapped my buddy who does that. I'm not naming names right now, unless he wants me to promote it. But it's just like even having that look on your face, like we're busting, like over and over. You're editing, you see your own look. I'm like how weird is that, man? Like, but like that's what he has to do. He's like, find better lighting for this, and I'm like, how bizarre, man. Like this is not a useful skill, like in the scheme of like advancing humanity. Yet you get to enjoy life because you make some bank.
Hey, but he's got the tools, so use them.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah. Or but it'd be funny if you don't even have the tools to do it, because then it'd be a funny one. Like people are tuning in is like, holy shit, like you know, like,
I should start an OnlyFans too.
come on,
See,
man.
you know.
Yeah.
But in any case, I have another engagement here in the next 10 minutes, and I think you've got to go too.
Yep. I gotta go take a nap.
Take a nap.
Yeah.
But yes, no, thanks very much for this. And, I'm feeling really good about this first episode.
Yeah.
We went from how to do a podcast to
Maybe chop it in parts.
how to figure OnlyFans.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
man. Like that's the beauty of podcasts, is a conversation. Like just when you go in with a game plan, like it naturally swerved into something we couldn't
Absolutely.
talk about, we couldn't resist, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, Sean, thank you very much, man.
All right.
Okay.